Morning, it's Xavier. You can hear the birds in the background and it's my bonsai retreat. And yes, I have only just got up. Something different today. Got a few clips that basically going to take you through my daily routine, and this routine is pretty standard, to be fair. So, before I go upstairs and get abluted, so to speak, I'll just give you an idea what's going to happen. In the background, you may or may not hear the washing machine. I've got the wash on because the kids always like me to do that. I am the washing lady, so to speak. Cleared a few dishes, and I've actually sported a bit of a sunburnt hands and arms because I have sensitive skin, because I was lucky enough to get invited to the Billingborough allotment plant sale. Absolutely, some of the villages around here are incredible. You never know these idyllic places, oases of plants exist. But I got invited, and I had a little bonsai stand. In fact, should we shoot over now? Well, here I am at Billingborough Craft Market. It's a lovely picturesque village, and the allotment's absolutely gorgeous. But it's the first time I've been out actually on any sort of stall event at all in years and years. But I've got a few trees out there, and I'm going to be doing the wiring on my box. I'm going to be taking the wire off my Japanese maple, and I'll be doing the wiring up on that juniper, and hopefully along the way talk to a few people about bonsai and how easy they are to grow. But you look behind, all the lovely allotment gardens and everything's fantastic. Great event. I was treated really well, and I sold some plants as well. No one wanted this one though, or my yew, or my Chinese elm, but I did sell quite a few. And I met some beautiful people. Got to work on my Cascade Courtney-Aster today actually. Normal routine, I'll be awake by 5 o'clock. I'll be down for my coffee. I do half an hour of Duolingo, alternate weeks, English, alternate weeks, French, German. And I do that because, one, I love language, and two, my wife was always desperately trying to get me to do Spanish, and I'm too lazy. So, you know, bless her, now that she's gone, it's typical. Now I start learning the languages. But no, it's supposed to be good for your brain and your synapses or something. So I do that, and bearing in mind Dad had dementia, it's probably not a bad idea to do two dissimilar languages. But once I've done half an hour, 3/4 an hour of that, I'll come downstairs, as I say, sort of washing and stuff like that, and then think about the day. Now obviously I've just had a great weekend, the plant sale, but I've got a lot of videos to put out, a lot of collaborations I'm working on at the moment, and the usual frustration of watching other great content providers put out stuff that you were just about to premiere yourself, and it doesn't matter how much you sort of try not to, there's always a small sense of friendly competition. So when you see something put out, someone put something out before you, you think, oh. But anyway, I don't eat breakfast. Katrina's got me on some fandangle diet or whatever. It's not a diet, but basically I don't start eating till 1. Once 1 o'clock comes, I don't stop eating until 7. Good, isn't it? Anyway, let's I'm going to cut you over to me a few days ago when I was just talking about 1 or 2 other things that I do in the morning. So I'm just going to go and get dressed and clean and brush my teeth. It's a good thing you haven't got smell-o-vision on this. If it's the day of that's post-release of a video, which it was yesterday, I put out potentially one that could be more controversial, and that was, you know, 3 questions you ask about trunk chops. And I don't do it because I understand or know everything. I'm just sharing my views and opinions. And already I can see on my phone that there's a few comments there. And I think I've always said I don't mind what sort of comments you give, just as long as they're not rude. But you know, I accept, I go on YouTube, I'm part of it, I'm a creator, so you know, people want to write stuff, they write it. And you've got to learn to have a thick skin. I think that's probably the one thing I'll say to anyone who's thinking about doing YouTube or creating. You have to be prepared and ready for the fact that if people don't like your content, sometimes they like to tell you that. Me, if I don't like someone's content, I just flick to another channel. But there are a few people who perhaps can be a little bit nasty. But you've got to accept that. You put yourself in the public, you know, that's part and parcel of it. But what I will say is 99% of the people that I've sort of communicated with and engaged with, absolutely brilliant, and they don't all agree with me, but hey, this is bonsai, I mean. But anyway, yeah, so I'll come down and I'll think about the fact that I've got a video that was out last night, and you know, I did it as a live chat. And for those of you who want to speak, I love chatting. So if you haven't been on one of my premieres, and I don't do loads of them, but we have quite a flowing chat going forth on the premieres. It is a good time if you want to talk to me or ask me questions about stuff. Those premieres are perfect for it. And normally you get one or two other. I think last night we had Yelly, Jason Han was there, and I know I'm now going to miss someone. But there's always a good community to talk on the live chat. So if you haven't done one before, you know, do it. If you don't want to talk to me, then don't bother. Anyway, I'm getting off on my... Why do I always blah, don't I? It's like I never have trouble filling 5 minutes at a time. Now trying to fill 5 minutes at a time with something useful, that is something I have a problem with. Well, and there was another thing I meant to say. The other thing I do first thing in the morning is I do a tour of the garden. The birds are always active in the morning, and there's invariably at least one pot that's been upturned, or there's been some cuttings that have been pulled out of a pot, or again, just another reminder to see if there are any particular trees where I've missed the watering. As today it's going to be sunning all day, you know, I need to make sure there isn't anything I've missed, and there's certainly one on a bigger tree where I've missed the entire back part, so I'll catch up on the watering as well. I'll show you a tree. This Dawn Redwood has come so far. The reason I brought it up is because I just noticed the wire just about at removal stage. Yeah, it had a really unusual shape on the central core, this part here. But last year, as you know, I had a real nightmare with the summer. Basically destroyed all the work I did for the ramification development. So this year I'm hopeful that when it comes to pruning time, I'll be able to develop some new branches and actually keep them through the summer. Last year everything got scorched off. Oh, so as I say, I'll plonk myself down at my computer, which is in the front room. Got the dining room window here, sun blaring in, and I'm always able to peek out the curtains just to see what's going on in my neighbourhood, because I am Mr. Nosy. And I will go straight on to my notifications. It tells me that I've got 9 notifications plus. Normally I'll have a look. We've got Frostbite Bonsai in the coldest regions of Canada. I'll always watch Marisol. I might have a look and see what's on the shorts, or if there's any notifications in the community page. I've got to watch the rest of Nigel Saunders. And then I've got a few from Germany, Bonsai, and I do that because it helps with my German. And I've got Bonsai Normandy, and I use that because it helps my French. Taco's put another one out. Taco puts one out every single day. First thing I'll do is I'll go to my notifications. I've got loads of comments there, which I've got to work through. Once I've done the comments, I'll go to the actual channel page, and again, have a look and see my subscribers. And again, it's interesting. The one I did on Japanese maple a few days ago had 1,000 views on it really quickly. And I think it's because I used the word Japanese maple, I don't know. This one is actually really a lot more interesting, I think, and more useful, and has only had 300 views. So no matter how much I try not to be disappointed, of course I am. But it's had a higher view duration. So there's loads of analytical stuff here, and you know, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I'll look through this stuff. And then latest comments, and I will go through and work my way through the comments. Not loads of comments, so again, that's also a way of whether I assess whether or not people are that interested in it. And you know, ultimately, no matter how much I think a subject's interesting, if I want to continue doing this, I need to make an assessment and judge what everyone else wants, which is why I always stress, you know, put something in the comments and then I know what I should be trying to do. Although this is my journey, if I want you to share it with me, you need to be interested. I'll go through and do this now for the next hour, and then I actually just finished yesterday doing my quince and sage video, but I've got to do the description, and I've got to try and do a thumbnail. And for thumbnails, I'll go to Canva. My computer's getting so old now that the security connections, or the way the different internet talks to each other, takes so long that it always times out. So sometimes I can't get onto Canva, but I use Canva for all my thumbnails. I'm going to work through those comments, and then I'm going to go on and do some editing. I'm trying to work out what I've got to edit. I know I did I did some work with Kenneth the other week on my Scots Pine, so I've got to do the updated edit on that, and that's going to be a video that's going to come out in the August time. So that's planning ahead. And for those of you who are interested, I mentioned that my videoing software is AVS for You. I've had it since 2015. It's relatively simple, but I bought it for a lifetime license on the computer. I think it was £24 or something. So I'll open up the screen, going for a blank project, and what have I got in my files? Oh dear, don't want anything embarrassing here. So there's all the stuff that I'm loading up. You've got Bonsai Retreat, that's coming out on Thursday. You will have seen that already. The Japanese maple, and I keep back copies of these. We've got the Pruning My Tiger Bark Ficus, just like Nigel does. So this is the stuff that I've been working on. I've also got files of shorts that I'm ready to upload, and where I've done lots of odd clips, larch forest pruning, hornbeaming training, got lots of oak clips, different ones on tridents. These are clips that I've taken that I haven't used yet and may well get added to future videos. I've got loads that were taken on the oaks last year, and again with those, when I do some oak pruning, I may well use some of the footage from last year just to make it more interesting, or not. Subscriber, I do my subscribers corner, what happens when people send me pictures, and if you do want to send pictures, expressions@gmail.com, links, the address is up there. Send me some pictures through, and what I do is I collect until I've got enough of them, and then got some from Simon Bremner, his cell covers. They're waiting to go up, but I normally want to try and get a selection of 3 or 4 different subscribers first. So Simon, that's why those pictures are waiting. So I got to my B-roll, and these are all the ones, different stuff that's in the pipeline. There's the Scots Pine collaboration that I was doing with Kenneth, so that'll be the first thing I'll do. So I'll pull those down, and this will be the start. So, and with this one, I've already got video where I actually put footage out. I asked for help from him, so I've got a little video of that. He's replied to me with advice, so I'll get that added to it. This is me taking the advice, and then I'll be sending you more footage out in another 4 or 5 weeks, where I'll go to ask for more advice, and then hopefully, as I say, by the time you see this in the autumn, there'll be a good bit of work between the two of us, and it'll make for a lot more interesting and useful viewing. You'll tell me if it does. Anyway, I can't yap away for this all day. I'm going to get on with the editing, get on with the comments, watch loads of creative videos, and then actually get out and do some work myself. You've just seen what I've done up until about 10 o'clock. The bit you haven't watched is watching me hang out the washing. And now I've got probably a couple of hours where the sun is definitely not causing any issues for me or for filming, so it's actually perfect for filming. So normally now, if I've selected a tree last night that I want to work on today, this would be when I'll be doing it, and I'd have the screens up either here or I'd throw it up on that side. All depends where the glare's worst, because you know me, I love making sure that my cinematography is absolutely not right. A week ago maybe you'll have seen me put up a video on the Japanese maples, and I think one of the hardest things as a creator, dare I say that, is trying to decide which of your trees you're going to show. When I'm looking at maples, I mean, I've got, well, there's all sorts here. Little marmay ones. There's all sorts. But the truth is, I've got to try and find enough that's going to probably give me 20 minutes worth of filming, which means I'll probably be filming for about 2 hours. No, so what I'm trying to find is a couple of trees that, one, look nice, but also allow me to show some of the difficulties or decisions I have to make without making it repetitive or boring. So, you know, that's something I'll probably think about the night before. But if I come out at this sort of time, again, that's what I'll be considering, and often I'll change my filming plans at the last minute, because, like I'm doing right now, I'll suddenly be looking elsewhere and realise that this, something like this hornbeam, has been wired up for a very long time. There's a video about it, and I'll think, oh, do you know what? Maybe that'll make a better video. And then again, so you suddenly start get things delayed, and oh, there'll be another video that I'll do, and then it won't actually show up for about 3 months. But yeah, I have all sorts of conundrums like that as well. And I think that's probably also a good way of explaining why it is that sometimes you'll see videos that are just out of sequence. I've either got no hair, lots of hair, shaggy growth, different shirts, and sometimes there could be a couple of weeks between videos that you see one after the other. And often it's because I realise either the quality of the video I produced wasn't as good as I thought, or something more pressing and urgent really pushes to the front. You know, they're the sort of decisions I have to try and make, and ultimately now I recognise that I do have a bit of a responsibility. You know, you invest your time watching, so, you know, I need to try and keep things as relatively close to the time period that you should be doing stuff, if you're going to. And I do try where I've clearly got 3-4 weeks gaps in events taking place versus when you see them, I'll put a date so that you're aware. There's the other reason why you'll often see videos being shuffled about is because I'll have planned, like now, I've actually got 2 weeks worth of programming already loaded up on YouTube. And then I'll have a visit from someone, and yesterday I had Darren who came up, and I felt ever so lucky. He came up, spent a good couple of hours here, and had a look around. Apparently I'm taller than he thought, but there you go. But he'd been talking to me about how much of an influence the VSOP series, or BSOP series, which was Ryan Neal was part of, Spring Fundamentals, Fall Fundamentals. And we were laughing because that was pretty pivotal for me a good few years back in helping me to move forward in my bonsai journey. But he told me about the chopstick episode, and I actually hadn't watched it. But he reminded me actually that with chopsticking there is actually an art form. There is actually a technique that you need to bear in mind. And the reason I say that is because he carved me 2 really nice chopsticks. Thank you very much. And it was based on the principles from that video from Ryan Neal. And he reminded me, of course, that we've got to be careful that the edges on these chopsticks are actually quite short, because when we're pushing or creating the air spaces and trying to fill them with soil, what we don't want to be doing is destroying too much rootage. So, you know, you want your chopstick edge and blades to be sharp enough that if it goes through a root, it cuts it cleanly. So that's why they've got nice sharp blades on them. But again, it was a reminder to me. I mean, I won't pretend that I hadn't forgotten that. I've been pretty rough with some of my chopsticking at times, and you forget that actually too rough and you're going to continue to damage the roots that are down below you're trying to protect and bring on. So there's an example. So I've just said a little spiel there, and it suddenly becomes more important and pressing, because I think you need to know that. I also want to thank Darren for visiting and for bringing up this lovely gift. So this video already, which was going to be 3 weeks away, is now going to be probably next Thursday. And that means I'll shift. In this case, I'll be shifting my probably my silver birch rebuild, and out another week. But yeah, so they're the sort of conundrums or difficulties I face, and that will again be the reasons why you'll often see stuff that just seems at the wrong time or out of order. So now I've got an hour and a half without the distraction of trying to get decent film or anything. I can work on the laborious task, but enjoyable, of pruning the other 30 Japanese maples that you didn't see on the video. So I'll crack on with that. Okay, well that's the about 19 of the maples that I've just done. It's taken me just under 2 hours, and I'll give myself a reward now. I think I need to go in and check if there's any more new YouTubers, anyone who's put anything on, because I do like to watch a bit of that while I'm having my lunch. And then got a little bit more editing to do on my quince update. So that's the morning done, just about. Show you what I do this afternoon. So the other things I do when I'm not doing bonsai, and normally this will be in the morning before the sun gets up too hot, is do improvements to the garden. I'm lucky, I do get subscribers who come up and visit, and I'm more than happy. If anyone's coming up the A1, I'm literally 5 minutes off the Grantham signpost, and I'm actually only 35 minutes from Greenwood's nursery. So if you're ever going to visit Greenwood's, then feel free to drop in and see me. Quick phone call or a email, never an issue. Anyway, one of the things I'm doing at the moment is slowly putting bark mulch on all of my growing bed borders. I don't actually use anything in the soil, but I use the beds to store the trees at various different stages, and as you've seen, sometimes the plastic, I'm quite happy for the roots to grow out and under, and I find the pine bark is obviously a great way to reduce reeds. So I'm doing that this morning. I've done the railway bed, I've done beds further up, and I've just now got to go over and do the last remaining storage bed for the cuttings, and put some in there, so I'll be doing that. I'm going to say it's nothing glamorous, but this is also the opportunity to just get to weed around the cuttings. This is a Fuji cherry, probably 2 years now cutting. And again, I just take any mould, any sort of stuff that's growing around the top of that, clear it out so that you get a better balance of oxygen and water going in there. And again, a lot of these may or may not become bonsais. A lot of times I took cuttings in the early years before I realised what made good. There we go. In fact, out of all that lot, I had 5 in there, and there's 1. That looks like that could be quite a nice one. Got some English holly, which really basic branch structure there, but I haven't done holly properly as a bonsai, so I thought I'd try with this. Who knows? I think that could look quite nice actually. I'll have to do some research on them. The trident maple cuttings, I mean, you look how big they are. That's 1.5 feet. That should have probably got potted on, to be fair. But there's definitely a tree shape in there. I won't cut them yet. I want to keep thickening up and just remove that bottom root. And obviously this is probably the one time of the year when I actually get down to the beds. These get left alone for so long. I'll have a look at them. Maybe do some basic pruning while they're in the pots. Just remove obvious branches I'm not going to want. Fuji cherry cutting here. Load of moss on it. Get rid of that. Looking nice and healthy. The lower branch down here, I'm not going to want that. I want this to keep growing stronger and taller. Look and see which branch will give me the best movement. It's this one up here. I don't bother wiring because these things will go back into the bed and they'll get forgotten. I've done that too many times in the past. The main ones I'm interested these days: Fuji cherry, trident maples, Dawn Redwood. I do some Ginkgo. Basically, I'm thinking ahead for the future. I don't necessarily need them, but I do go to market stalls, and when people visit, I'm quite happy to pass on reasonable prices for cuttings. I mean, it is brilliant. That's my cutting. And I'll use these as cuttings from the cuttings and grow them on. But if I've got to think about effective use of space, trident maple is the way to go. Anyway, we've also got the other issues. We get this sort of issue where it's just weed city, and I need to sort through those. Once I've got this clear, I'm going to put a whole load of bark down on it to try and stop the green algae mould developing on it. And then I'll leave that for a year, to be honest. It's about 45 minutes later, and I've only done about 7 foot, but I've got all the cuttings separated and organised. They're sitting on a bed of bark, so hopefully that's going to reduce the risk of weeds coming up and going to make it easier for me in the future. Absolutely tons of box, so I'm really happy about that. Goodness knows what I'm going to do with box. I've still got those 2 big boxes that I keep threatening to wire and haven't. They are supposed to be my carving project, but yeah, they're in the future, I think. Anyway, I've done that for now. I've got to sort out my new shelving on the retaining wall. But now I'm going to go back in and do a little bit of editing, because now the sun is in exactly the wrong place for me to film at the patio. So I've got to wait another hour or so before I can start filming. And that's when I'll do some trunk chops, I think. Right. Well, it's 4:30, and to be fair, it's been sunny all day, so trees are pretty dry. I would love to say that I had a beautiful watering system and was able to follow all the good principles that are espoused by Ryan Neal and all the professional bonsais who, you know, talk about giving your trees one soak and then a second soak, because the first soak doesn't really get through to the roots, and, you know, watering in itself becomes an art form to keep your trees going. But I haven't got the time to do that. I've got a hose with an adjustable nozzle, and I do my best to just get around to them all. I try and soak the ones as much as I can, certainly the maples. And I've known this year I've been a lot more proactive on keeping them well watered, so I actually came out at lunchtime and gave them a water as well. And that whole myth, and I say it's a myth, that, you know, you get leaf scorch by watering your trees in the sun, that's a myth. They get scorched because there's absolutely no water left. They've sucked the water out of their own system, so they start killing off the extremities of all their growth. So no, I've never ever had an issue with leaf burn or anything. Maybe other people will say that's true, but that'll make a jot of difference. I find that my trees do better for having been watered in the middle of the lunchtime sun. Better say I do it now because the sun's going down. It's cooler. There's normally a bit of a breeze blowing, and what water there is stays there. As I say, this afternoon I did a few more maples, and then checked to see any more YouTubers, and Yele had done one about forest plantings, which made me laugh. I did like the science of it, and I've seen the science, and it's you know, quite correct, but you've all seen me do forest plantations, and there's certainly a sense of randomness about them. So I'll do the watering, and then I'll continue some editing. I've probably done about 2 hours of editing today. One thing I have learnt is those days when you're just tempted because it's been cloudy, or you might have had a slight rain and you're tempted to miss a watering. I've done that. We all go there, we get a bit lazy or whatever. And to be fair, it's rare that I don't regret it the next day. Invariably, one tree somewhere will have suffered the lack of water. And in the end, you know, it's like children. If you don't give them water, they die. So there you go. The only other thing I'd say about watering is it is also the one time of the day, every day, where you actually get an opportunity to see or watch your trees and to see if there's anything happening to them that you hadn't expected. And I know from a purist point of view, different trees should get different amounts of water. You should be looking at the soil and stuff like that. And again, I'll say, look, I'm not a professional. It's enough to know that I spend half an hour each day doing it this way. And the other biggest hazard with watering is hoses, is those kinks. It doesn't matter how hard you try to keep a straight hose. Those kinks are lethal, and many a time I've knocked a bonsai out of a pot because I haven't realised that it's got wrapped around a kink. And you can always guarantee it's always one that you've freshly repotted or is not well that it does it too. Let's go inside now. Surfst du jeden Tag? Ich jogge heute weit weg. Well, what can I say? It's now 10 to 9. I have to do my German Duolingo. Yeah, I finished all the water and everything came in. Had my dinner, kids look after me. And then I have to watch 2 Korean serials. And of course it depends which of the children are about as to which of the serials I watch. So I've got 3 or 4 cereals on the go. And then 10 to 9, I'm up here. I do my Duolingo for half an hour. I read a bit of my book. At the moment I'm reading the Wheel of Time series. And then by 10 o'clock, lights out, and I dream of another day in the bonsai retreat. So, I hope you've had a chance to understand how most of my days tend to run. Sunday's the only difference, and obviously because of my faith, that is most definitely a priority for a Sunday. But yeah, for the other 6 days of the week, that's pretty well life for Xavier in the bonsai retreat. So I hope you've got something out of it. I hope it hasn't been too ridiculously boring for you. And if you have any other questions about how my day-to-day goes, chuck it down in comments if you've managed to last this far. And yes, this, for those of you who know, is a Christian Dior nice dressing gown, and it was a present on my 18th birthday from my mother. God rest her soul. So yeah, it's a good 30 years old. Anyway, all the best. Happy bonsaiing. God bless. Cheers.